An investigation at UConn and Dan Hurley continuing to embarrass himself. Can new Indiana basketball coach Darian DeVries bring Braylon Mullins home?
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. We've got portal visitors officially set up coming to Bloomington. We'll talk about one, plus one that there seems to be some concern about, but I promise you that there's not. So that's later on in the episode. Plus, can Darian DeVries just win in recruiting? What did Mike Woodson not do that DeVries needs to do? And that leads us with our first conversation. I've seen a lot of people asking about this, and this was being asked before Dan Hurley made a you-know-what of himself, because that's just what he does. And now there seems to be investigations going on there at UConn. Hoosiers fans are wondering, could Braylon Mullins, yes, the Indiana native, the five-star kid, top 5 player in America, could he possibly get out of his signee with UConn and come back home to Indiana? We'll talk about that today, why it could be possible or why it may not be possible. And I understand the question, right? This was a kid, one of the many that former head coach Mike Woodson was recruiting heavily, made a bunch of visits to. He came and visited. We put out everything we could for him. But at the end of the day, he chose UConn over Indiana. And at the time, it made sense, right? He committed to Dan Hurley, who was a back-to-back national champion winning head coach. He's putting guys in the league. He had everything you could possibly want if you're a 5'5" guard like Braylon Mullins, who is just incredibly talented at 6'5", okay, as the shooting guard. And this was not the first instance of Mike Woodson losing out on big recruits. Yes, you got Trent Sisley, but pretty much any other player not named Mackenzie Mbako or Trent Sisley, they went somewhere else. And sure, we were there in top 10s, top 5s, top 3s. Heck, most of the time we were top 2. Like with Braylon Mullins, it just didn't happen. They always chose the other school. And so now that you've got a new head coach, right? You've got Darian DeVries from West Virginia, who of course coached at Drake. He's got a long resume of great coaching, development, and putting some guys in the league. Now that you've got a new head coach, I think it's at least worth a phone call if it's possible. If you can somehow get the word out to Braylon Mullins, he knows. By now, he knows you have a new head coach. It's more so of, hey, we would still love to have you. I know you were thinking about Indiana. You're from Indiana. I know you were dealing with the previous staff who is literally no longer here. That is being completely wiped clean. We are going to do it differently. We'd love to have a chance. He's already signed with UConn. Let me make that very clear. He is signed with UConn. And in today's world, I'll be honest with you, I don't fully know exactly how that works, where you can get out of your NLI. We see it all the time. We see recruits, especially in football, where they commit, they sign, and then they still back out of it, which is why recruiting nowadays is so stressful for these coaches, because nothing is a guarantee. Nothing is 100%, even when you see them on your court or on your field or on your campus. Like, it's still not a guarantee. And so while I'm not a fan of kids doing that, I don't think it's the end of the world for Indiana to put out a feeler and just let them know, hey, we'd still love to have you. I'm sure his decision has been made, and a new coach now won't change that. But there seems to be some issues at UConn, other than the obvious of Dan Hurley, who just, again, cannot get out of his own way, who can't shut his mouth, and then is confused when somebody catches him on camera or when he's on the floor and he just goes irate and goes ballistic against people. He wonders why people don't like him, and he wonders why he has a bad reputation and a negative image in the public light. I don't know, man. If you don't want to get caught on camera doing stupid stuff, don't do stupid stuff. Don't be a jerk. Don't treat people like crap. I don't know. Crazy idea, but try it out and see if it works for you. And this whole situation with them walking off the floor and him saying the choice words to the team standing there, hey, I hope they don't screw you like they did us, to keep it clean here on the podcast. That's what he said. He repeated it and got it on video. A journalist did. That journalist then posted it. I'm sure you've seen this story by now. And then the SID, the information director, said, I will ruin your life if you don't take this video down. Well, that launched an investigation. Police are also involved because that game was played in Raleigh, North Carolina. And in the state of North Carolina, threats are not okay. They're actually illegal. And so there's some sort of an investigation apparently going on into UConn. They came out and said they're threatening to limit scholarships and take away money and take some people away. I mean, some serious stuff there at UConn. It has since been said, I guess the reporter and the SID have since talked on the phone, and the SID apologized for his choice words and things like that. And I guess the reporter was the bigger person and accepted the apology. But if you are law enforcement or the NCAA, do you really want to just say okay and move on from this? I mean, there's clearly something not going right in the UConn program. And I'm not on here to bash them today and tell you why Braylon Mullins shouldn't even think about going there. Dan Hurley's an excellent coach. And yes, they lost in the round of 32, but they lost to a good team, and UConn is going to be back. I'm just saying, Indiana fans are asking, and I wanted to talk about it because it is worth a feeler. It's worth a call. It's worth the message. It's worth something just to let him know, hey, you still have a home in Bloomington. You can still come here and be great. And maybe it's more enticing now because of more NIL money as a whole. Maybe not for him, but just as a whole, and a new coach and a new system and new players. I mean, everything is going to be new here at Indiana. And this is all going to play into what we talk about for the rest of the show today, but I wanted to address it because whether stuff ends up happening at UConn or not, or whether it's just a change at the head man here in Bloomington, Braylon Mullins should consider it. I really do think so, because he could be great at UConn, but he could be a legend at IU. And that's the difference. That is the difference. Right now, he can be a part of the rebuild. And I think there's more of a path right now to professional basketball at Indiana now than there was before. Can I say that it's better right now at IU than UConn? No, because that's an unknown. We don't know that situation just yet. But it's much better than it was. And I think that's a big reason Braylon Mullins and guys like him chose not to come to IU. But I think if you are him, you at least need to consider it. If you're able to talk with them, or your camp is able to talk with, however that works nowadays, I say you hear them out. Got to do it legally, got to do it the correct way, the best that you can. But I do think it's worth Indiana to at least let him know. And I think it's at least worth it for Mullins to think about it and possibly getting out of his signee at UConn and reconsidering Indiana. All right, coming up here on Locked On Hoosiers, how can DeVries win in recruiting? He's reportedly already making the right calls and impressing some folks, but what can he do that Mike Woodson didn't? We'll talk about that coming up next here on the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trade. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers extra support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Use the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's at supplyhouse.com. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you making this your first listen or your first watch. However you take us in, we appreciate it, and making this your first one every single day. If you are listening on audio or you're watching on YouTube, again, thank you so much for being here. We're growing like crazy. You are the reason for that. And so thank you so much. For my audio listeners, if you are on Apple or Spotify, Amazon, doesn't matter to me. Just make sure that you're following us. Make sure you have those notifications turned on, because I don't want you to miss any new episodes, okay? And then leave us a 5-star review. That helps us out a lot, helps us grow, helps it get shared around. So be sure that you do that. And if you are watching on YouTube, on the video side of things, a couple of things. Like the video, right? Hit that thumbs up, gets it out there, lets the YouTube algorithm do what it's supposed to do. More Indiana fans can find it that way, and that's what we want. Also, leave your thoughts in the YouTube comments down below. Is it worth it for Indiana to somehow reach out to Braylon Mullins and try to re-recruit him, or will he leave? I don't know. We'll have to see, but I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Plus, what can Darian DeVries do that Mike Woodson didn't to be better in recruiting? I'm sure you guys have some recommendations, so drop those down in the comments below, and then subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're making a push to 5,100. Let's look at it and see where we are. We are at 5,088 right now as we are recording. So if you can help us get to 5,100, I would really appreciate that. Well, there's a lot of things that Darian DeVries is going to have to do as the new head coach of Indiana basketball. And the main one, the most important one, I think, other than, yes, winning games, is he's got to rebuild the recruiting pipeline. He's got to rebuild the connections with high school recruiting. And yes, that is here in the state of Indiana, but it's also in the surrounding states. But we know how important it is to recruit the state of Indiana. We just got done talking about a kid from the state of Indiana, one of the best we've ever seen, who left to go to UConn. We've seen kids go to Kentucky. We've seen kids go to the SEC, right? We've seen kids go to Baylor. I mean, we've seen them go everywhere other than Indiana. And that's not okay. That's just not good. That's not going to fly here in Bloomington, which is a major reason why Mike Woodson is no longer here. Other than the fact that he can't win basketball games, he couldn't recruit the players to help him win basketball games. And look, Trent Sisley, he's coming in. He's already doubled down and says he's still committed to Indiana, the top 75 player here in the state. That's fantastic. But somebody like Mackenzie Mbako was really good, but he's from Jersey and he didn't pan out here, and he's going to transfer and go somewhere else, and we wish him nothing but the best. But for a coach like DeVries, who is at least a Midwest guy, he gets it. He gets how important high school recruiting is. This is somebody who had nothing but high school recruiting because he was at Drake. And yeah, he could use the portal a little bit, but Drake is not a place where you transfer from the portal and get overly excited about, because most guys want to go from Drake to the Power 4 level. So he had to recruit high school kids and then develop them and make them big-time superstars, which is exactly what he did. He didn't have a ton of time to do that at West Virginia, but let's be real. The talent here in Indiana is not even the talent in West Virginia is not even close to what it is here in Indiana. We are one of the best states in the country for high school basketball recruiting, which is why DeVries has to now not only make a good impression, he has to make up for what Mike Woodson wasn't able to do. He has to rekindle a lot of these connections. And from what I hear, Woodson wasn't bad. He wasn't a bad guy. He wasn't a jerk. He wasn't somebody that never called. He just wasn't the answer. He wasn't attractive. He wasn't one that people wanted to play for. And he wasn't one that coaches wanted to push for either. We forget how important it is in high school recruiting to win over the high school coach, the AAU coach, the trainers, all those people that are involved with big-time 5-star recruits and even big-time 4-stars as well. It's not just about winning over the player. It's about winning over the people around them too. And I just don't think Mike Woodson did that. They could see through him. They knew he wasn't it. They knew that he was not able to get it done and get their kid to the next level, which is why most of them didn't come here. And Can you blame them? I mean, look at where they go. They're going, like I said, UConn and Florida and places like that. I mean, it's hard to recruit against that when they have results and you don't. And we have some in the very, very near past, but not enough to compete with others. And so, what can DeVries do? Well, he can start making some calls and picking up the phone, which it sounds like he's already done. He can start making visits. He can start going to see people. He can start to show his face and drop his name. And that's exactly what he's doing. There's people saying that he's going to try and go to the Indiana State basketball finals. That's a great idea. I guess he's already calling some big time AAU clubs and some high schools and some big people in recruiting. That is what you're supposed to do. You have to do that. And you have to get in there, make a name for yourself, because let's be real, a lot of people don't know who he is. They don't. They don't know who he is. And you've got to tell them who you are and why it's important that you're there and why they need to listen. It's a sales pitch. It's literally a sales pitch. That's all you're doing. And unfortunately, you're taking over a client. For those of you in the sales world, you're taking over a client that's been burned in the past, that's dealt with other reps, and they know when that place calls, don't answer the phone, don't talk to them, send them on their way. Now, if you're Darian DeVries, you're having to walk into that building and say, I know you've been burned before, but I'm different. And then you got to make them believe you. Got to make them believe you. And that's what you're doing with players, families, coaches, organizations right now. I think DeVries can do that. I think he's willing to do that. If he wasn't, he wouldn't have taken the job, because that's what comes with this job. It's a non-stop recruiting gig. Yes, you're coaching. Yes, you're developing. Yes, you're worrying about NIL. Yes, you're worried in the portal. Yes, you're doing all those things. But man, if you can't recruit, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you can do. You have to get talent. And Mike Woodson simply couldn't do that. And so your success, if you're Darian DeVries, it relies on high school recruiting. Sure, you can use the portal, and you're going to have to use it this first time around just to get enough guys to play on a basketball team. But I think we've seen this trend in college basketball where while the portal's great, you still need high school kids. You still build a team and a program from the high school level. That's in basketball, football, swim and dive, track and field, doesn't matter. You have to go get high school kids to build your program. And so I think DeVries can do that. I think he's going to have more NIL money than we've ever had. I think he's going to have more flexibility than we've ever had. But I think he's just going to have to be a convincing guy and show them, once you get a couple of them here, hey, here's what I can do. And maybe that takes a little bit. It probably does, but it can't be any worse, right? It can't be any worse than what we were dealing with. And once you land one or two of those guys, I said this with Woodson and it just never happened. Once you land one or two big names, people start to take notice. It's a trend. It's like a snowball effect, right? You've heard me talk about this before. That's how recruiting works, man. It's how recruiting works. You get one or two, people take notice. That's what DeVries has to do right now. You can make some noise in the portal, but maybe go get a couple of kids in recruiting, and all of a sudden, everybody knows who you are. All right, coming up here in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, speaking of visitors, speaking of big names, we got some kids from the portal that want to come and check out Indiana. We'll talk about two names right after this in our final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set up goals, and stay on the same page without the stress or the arguments. You can use Monarch Money to do that. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's Monarch Money, like the butterfly, monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Yes, check that out. Our bracket breakdown on Amazon Fire TV. Just search it, bracket breakdown. If you got a Fire TV, like I do, be sure you check that out. Andy Patton, Isaac Shade, they're a part of the Locked On College Basketball podcast. Highly recommend that you check that out. But they're doing a fantastic job there in that beautiful studio that they got built. So be sure you go and check that out. Again, if you're on Fire TV, just search bracket breakdown and you'll find it right there. It is portal season right now for Indiana, and there are some names that you need to know. One we've actually talked about both of these guys, but one that is coming to Indiana and one that is taking a visit to Indiana. Want to talk Tucker DeVries very quickly here. The coach's son, the one who's in the portal, do not contact, has been reported that he's coming to Indiana. There seems to be some concern with Indiana fans on why this hasn't happened yet. I'm telling you not to stress out. Don't flip out. It's okay. He's coming to Indiana. Just got to get all the paperwork things done. Got to get all the logistics out of the way. Tucker DeVries is going to be an Indiana Hoosier. And that should excite you, right? 15 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 41% from the floor in the 8 games that he played this past year. He shoots it incredibly well from beyond the arc, almost 37% from deep. This guy is a stud. All right. This guy is a stud. In his 8 games at West Virginia, that's his career 3-point percentage is 37%. He shot at 47% in 8 games before he got injured at West Virginia in the 8 games that he played there. So I wanted to address that very quickly. Tucker DeVries is going to be an Indiana Hoosier. So let's not stress there. We're all good. Somebody else we talked about very early in the process of this transfer portal when Darian DeVries was hired, even before the portal was open, a name that we threw out there. We're going to continue to throw names at you over the next several days, maybe several weeks, if that's how long it takes. Someone we talked about as a possibility, but am circling back because it's been reported that he's going to be visiting Indiana at the beginning of April, coming up this weekend. Yeah, this weekend, early next week, is Conor Enright. He is a DePaul guard who played for DeVries during his time at Drake. He went from Drake to DePaul, and now he's taking a visit to Indiana. Been reported by several people, several outlets. Again, played 2 seasons at Drake before he played at DePaul this past season. His stats in 23 games, 7.5 points, 6 assists, and almost 3 rebounds and almost 30 minutes per game. Those stats again for you: 7.5 points, 6 assists, and 3 rebounds in his year at DePaul. It's very easy to say he's a pass-first guard. If you watch some of his highlights, he is your point guard. He brings it up the floor. He commands the offense. And he is what I would call a pick-and-roll alley-oop maestro, man. That's what this guy loves to do. Bring the big man up right inside the semicircle, set the high ball screen, come off of it, let him roll. What I love about Enright is he'll get deep into the lane. You'll see a lot of guys, they want to throw that lob from the elbow, or they want to throw it from way far out because they're worried about getting it blocked or getting it stolen or something like that. Not Enright, man. He'll get all the way to the basket and he'll throw that thing last possible second to a 6'5", 6'8" guy, and he will just slam it down. That's what Conor Enright does so well. And I think he is somebody that you could expect to play really well in the system of DeVries. They're very familiar with each other. They know how each other rolls, right? DeVries knows how Enright plays, and Enright knows how DeVries coaches. And so while he is a pass-first guard, he can still shoot the basketball. He is about a 33% three-point shooter this season. His free throw numbers kind of shocked me, about 65% or so. Seems low for a guard. It's one thing I'm not a fan of is guards that can't shoot free throws. But again, shoots at about 33% from three-point land. Not his go-to, but he's able to do it. Catch and shoot situations, end of shot clock situations, seems to be where he tight or likes to shoot the three ball, I think, but he's a pass first point guard. And you know what? That may not be the end of the world, depending on who you get. If you're Indiana, if Enright does eventually commit to the Hoosiers, this is not the worst thing. In today's basketball, it's hard to find a pass first guard because everybody wants to score. It's all about scoring. How much can you score? This guy will score, but he'd rather give it out to somebody else. And that's what good offenses do. And I think that's what DeVries may want to do. Remember, we've talked about the tempo offense and the transition offense and things like that. I think that's where Enright can kind of help you with that because he doesn't need the basketball in his hands to score or make an impact. Well, let me rephrase that. He doesn't in a fast break situation or in a half court set. He doesn't have to be the guy to score. That's what I'm trying to say. He doesn't have to be the guy to score. He's more than happy to dish that sucker off, turn around, and run down and play defense, which is fine. Defense isn't the craziest thing, but it's not bad. Okay, it's not a liability with him. But I think that could really work. Again, depending on who you get on your roster, I really like this kid. Not going to blow you away shooting or scoring, but a pass first, just a X's and O's point guard. He is somebody you need to keep an eye on. And he's going to be visiting Indiana on April 1st. I think he's going to be here for several days. And as I pull up the calendar just to double check, that is early next week. So that'll be Tuesday of next week. And so keep an eye out for him. You should probably feel pretty good if he's played for DeVries before and he's taken a visit from the portal. You should probably feel pretty good about it. We'll give you updates as we go. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers, man. I cannot stress enough how thankful I am for you for being here, whether you're listening on audio, watching on video, doesn't matter to me. Like it, comment, follow, subscribe, turn on your notifications, however you can support the show. I really do appreciate you, okay? We are back tomorrow, Hoosier fans. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.